I'll never forget the sound of the envelope sliding across the dinner table. It was heavy, thick, like it carried the weight of something alive inside it. My dad leaned back in his chair, his lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Laura," he said, his voice calm, almost rehearsed. "I have a surprise for you." He tapped the envelope with one thick finger. The nail yellowed, a knuckle scarred from years of working with his hands. I didn't touch it. Something about it felt wrong. The air smelled faintly of burnt toast from the kitchen, but all I could focus on was that damn envelope. "What is it?" I asked, my throat dry. "Go ahead," he said. "Open it. You're old enough now." I slid my finger under the flap. The paper rasped as I pulled it apart, and then, in an instant, my stomach dropped. My eyes scanned the first page, rows of numbers, balances, interest rates that looked like sharks' teeth. At the top, total debt balance, not 9321744. I froze. My dad leaned forward, his elbows on the table, watching my face. "What the hell is this?" I whispered. His smile widened. "That," he said, "is your future. I've been preparing this for you." I pushed the papers back toward him, my hands shaking. "You've got to be kidding me." "I'm not," he said simply. "All of this is in your name now." I laughed, a sharp, broken sound. No way, I didn't sign anything. I didn't take out loans. I didn't." He cut me off. "You don't understand, Laura. I've worked my ass off my whole life. Do you think I'm going to carry this burden until I die? No, I raised you. I fed you. I gave you everything you needed. Now it's your turn to pay me back." I stared at him like he'd grown horns. My chest felt tight, like the walls were closing in. "You put almost $1 million of debt in my name? Without telling me?" He shrugged. Surprise. I wanted to scream, but my mother sat frozen at the end of the table, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes downcast. She didn't say a word. She didn't defend me. She just stared at her plate like if she didn't move, maybe this nightmare would pass. "Dad," I said slowly. "This is fraud. This is illegal." His eyes hardened. "No, Laura, this is family." That night I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes I saw those numbers, 900,000. It was suffocating. My future, my freedom, my entire life. Gone with the scrape of an envelope across a dinner table. But here's the thing about betrayal. It burns you alive, but in that fire something else is born. I wasn't going to let him bury me in debt and call it love. The next morning I confronted him again. "I'm not paying this," I said. He didn't even look up from his coffee. "You don't have a choice. I'll go to the police." He chuckled, the sound bitter. "And tell them what? That your father took out loans in your name? Do you know how stupid that sounds? You think they'll believe you over me?" The room felt colder. He was daring me, mocking me. I wanted to smash the mug out of his hand, but instead I just stood there, my fists trembling at my sides. "You ruined my life," I whispered. "No," he said. "I made your life, and now you're going to save mine." I walked out of that house that day, with nothing but my phone and my car keys. The autumn air hit me like ice, sharp in my lungs. The leaves crunched under my boots, and with every step I promised myself, he wasn't going to win. I spent weeks in silence, drowning in research. I met with lawyers, accountants, anyone who would listen. Most shook their heads, told me it was hopeless, that proving fraud against a parent was nearly impossible without evidence. But then I found it. Hidden in the stack of loan documents that bears it deep was one signature that wasn't mine. My father had tried to copy my handwriting, but the curl of the L was wrong, the slant of the A was off. My gut twisted when I saw it, but my heart pounded with hope. It was enough. I started recording him. At dinner, I asked questions. "Dad, why did you put all that debt in my name?" I'd say casually, my phone hidden in my pocket. "Because you're my daughter," he'd say without hesitation. "It's your duty to take care of me." Each word was another nail in his coffin, but revenge isn't just about evidence, it's about patience. About letting the person who wronged you believe they've won until the very last second when the ground vanishes under their feet. One evening, he called me. "Laura, I need you to come over. The collectors are calling. You need to make a payment." I went. The house smelled of cigarette smoke and stale beer. He sat at the kitchen table like confetti, his hair wise fetty, his hair wild, his eyes bloodshot. "You need to pay this now," he snapped. I leaned on the counter, my heart hammering but my voice steady. "No," he slammed his fist on the table. "You ungrateful little brat, I should have never had kids. You think you're better than me? You think you can just walk away?" I pulled my phone from my pocket and hit play. His voice filled the room. His own confession, word for word. His face drained of color. "What the hell is that?" he whispered. "Proof," I said coldly. "You're not burying me, you're burying yourself." For the first time in my life, I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. He lunged across the table, trying to grab the phone, but I stepped back, clutching it to my chest. "You think you can destroy me," he hissed. "No," I said, my voice shaking but strong. "You already destroyed yourself. The police came 2 weeks later. Fraud, identity theft. Over $900,000. They put him in handcuffs right there in the driveway. My mother cried, begging them to let him go, but I just stood on the porch, watching. I didn't shed a tear. The neighbors peeked through curtains, whispering. The man who strutted through the neighborhood, bragging about his success, was dragged away like the criminal he was. When the trial came, I testified. My voice cracked, but I told them everything. The betrayal, the threats, the recordings. The jury looked at me with pity, but also with fire in their eyes. They believed me. He got 15 years. After the sentencing, he turned to me as they led him away. His face was twisted red with rage. "You'll regret this, Laura. You hear me? You'll regret this." But I didn't, not for a second. Because here's the truth. Sometimes revenge isn't fire and fury. Sometimes it's cold, precise, and patient. Sometimes it's letting the person who tried to bury you dig their own grave, and then watching them fall into it. The night after his sentencing, I sat alone in my apartment. For the first time in months, I breathed without that weight on my chest. I opened a window, and the cool night air rushed in, smelling of rain and freedom. That realized something. That envelope he slid across the table. It wasn't a curse, it was a test, a line drawn in blood between the life he wanted for me and the life I chose for myself. Instead, he thought he could set me free with debt. Instead, he set me free with fire. And if you're listening to this right now, remember, sometimes the people who claim to love you the most will be the ones sharpening the knife. But if you hold your ground, if you fight with everything you've got, you can turn their betrayal into your justice. I did. And it saved me. But I'll never forget that night, the sound of the envelope, the smell of burnt toast, and the moment I realized my own father wasn't my protector. He was my enemy, and I beat him.